Welcome back to the Motivated Mind Zone. Glad to have you here. If you've ever felt like your career path or your ability to influence things or even just how efficiently you get through the day was hitting some kind of invisible wall, well, our sources today really get to the heart of it. The bottleneck, it's almost always your professional vocabulary and crucially how you use it strategically. In today's business world, hybrid, remote, incredibly fast, mastering precise, effective communication. That's like the ultimate professional shortcut. The language you pick, whether you're trying to steer, choppy virtual meeting or close a big deal or even just sit in a really high stakes interview, it basically sets your professional altitude. It determines the trust, the credibility you command like instantly.
That really is the core idea
Mm.
from the masterclass compilation we've pulled together for this deep dive. We know you, the listener, you're looking to get past the generic stuff, right? You want to sound authoritative straight away. So our mission today is to take this huge body of work. It's really a definitive guide to advanced business English and distill it down into, well, an actionable toolkit. We're moving beyond just knowing the words. We're focusing on the practical phrases, the strategies that give you, let's call it control through language. And that's across the board. Virtual meetings, high-stakes sales, tricky interviews, and even just transforming the basic language you use every day.
Yeah, our goal is super clear, isn't it? We want to move you from feeling maybe a bit overwhelmed by all the how-to advice out there to being fully informed, properly equipped with the specific language you need to, well, absolutely nail it in any professional situation. So let's start where so much of the action is happening right now, section one, the modern workplace toolkit. How do we stop just, surviving virtual meetings and remote work and actually start excelling?
Right. With remote work being so dominant now in, well, so many industries, our sources really hammer this home. Mastering virtual meeting etiquette and clarity, it's just not optional anymore. It's different from being in the same room, isn't it? Virtual meetings bring in technology as this extra layer, a potential point of failure, and you really need a heightened sense of structure, more intention, just to keep people engaged.
Okay, let's break that down then. Looking at the life cycle of a virtual meeting, you can't just dive straight into the topic, can you? When you're kicking things off, setting the agenda, you need that professionalism, but also critically, a tech check built right in. That seems key.
Exactly. The source material actually calls this establishing the tech buffer. It's smart. Before you even mention Q3 sales, you've got to sort of neutralize the tech anxiety. Think about those essential opening lines. Thank you all for joining today, followed quickly by the purpose. Let's start by reviewing the agenda. But the absolute crucial step, tactically, is that check-in. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Hmm.
And the sources stress, this shouldn't just be, going through the motions. It shows you're in control as the host. It sets up an immediate feedback loop. And if there's a problem, you need a plan B ready. Like, if you have issues, please pop a message in the chat. That kind of active management of the tech, that's step one for virtual leadership.
Right. Okay. So once we're past that tech hurdle, the challenge becomes getting people to talk, facilitating discussion. That's tough remotely. You can't easily read the room, can you? No eye contact, no body language cues to see who's ready to jump in. We need specific language to pull people in and get past that unmute anxiety everyone talks about.
Absolutely. The language here has to explicitly invite input, manage the flow, but without letting one or two voices dominate. So instead of just waiting in silence, hoping someone speaks, use inclusive phrases. Things like, I'd really like to hear everyone's thoughts on this, or the very standard, polite, please feel free to unmute and share your input.
Yeah.
And if the conversation does stall, or maybe the usual suspects are doing all the talking, you need that structured approach. Okay, let's maybe go around the virtual room. Naeem, could you kick us off with your perspective on this strategic pivot?
That structure guarantees everyone gets a chance. That's vital for keeping remote teams feeling connected and valued.
Okay, makes sense. And then when we get to the core reason for most meetings, presenting ideas, clarifying, understanding clarity, and signaling what's happening are just paramount. It's not just what you say, but how you deliver it.
Yeah, for presenting, the command phrase is simple, but it's important for keeping things smooth. Okay, let me share my screen so you can all see the presentation. Minimizes that awkward pause, and when you're presenting data, you have to be specific. That's where credibility comes from. Don't just say, oh, things are looking better. Wait, use precise, data-driven language. As you can see from this chart here, our sales have increased by 15% this quarter. See? That precision turns an opinion into a verifiable fact. Instantly more credible.
But just showing the data isn't enough, right? The whole team needs to be on the same page about what it means. We definitely need those clarification phrases to check for understanding and stop misunderstandings later on. Those can be costly.
This is your safeguard against what they call false consensus, where everyone nods, but nobody's really agreeing on the same thing. You're making sure everyone leaves with the same instructions, the same understanding. So use consensus-seeking phrases like, just to clarify, are we all in agreement on the next steps here? Or shifting towards accountability, that hard confirmation check. Okay, can I just confirm that the deadline for this particular task is next Friday? That kind of language forces people to commit. It moves the discussion from abstract talk to concrete actions.
And look, we can't talk about virtual meetings without talking about the inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Tech issues popping up mid-session. How do the sources suggest we handle those? Politely, professionally, without sounding, flustered.
You have to be the calm one in the storm. The sources give us these useful, polite fixes that frame the problem as shared, not just one person's fault. So if the connection's getting choppy, try troubleshooting collaboratively. It seems like there's a bit of a lag for some folks. Could everyone maybe try turning off their video for a moment to see if that improves the connection? Notice how it's a collective suggestion. Takes the pressure off one person. Or if the screen share isn't working, you say something like, okay, I'm going to stop sharing and reshare my screen. Please let me know in the chat if it's still not visible. It shows you're proactively dealing with it. Avoids that dead air.
Right. And finally, wrapping up, summarizing action items. This seems critical for turning talk into action, making sure accountability starts right away.
Oh, absolutely. For task management, this is probably the most critical part. Professional conclusions are vital. Start with a quick recap. Okay, before we close, let's just quickly summarize the key points and the action items we've agreed on. And you must promise the follow-up documentation. Always. Solidify those decisions. Great discussion. I'll send out the meeting minutes and follow-up tasks shortly. That creates that organizational memory, stops confusion down the line. Hashtag tag 1.2 strategies for effective remote communication.
Okay, so moving beyond just the meeting structure itself, our sources also flag some really crucial, broader strategies for communicating effectively when remote, things that often get overlooked, I think.
Definitely. The first one sounds basic, but it's critical if you're working internationally. Time management and global teams. You absolutely have to double, maybe triple check time zones when you schedule meetings with colleagues overseas. It sounds simple, I know, but getting this wrong, it can mess up entire projects, cause delays, and honestly, it damages trust just through carelessness. The sources really emphasize checking those abbreviations, EST versus BST, PDT versus CET, get it right.
Yeah, that's a simple mistake with big consequences. The next strategy is about the language itself, clarity and jargon. What's the clear message here for professionals communicating across different cultures or teams?
The message is crystal clear. Keep it simple. Strategically, avoid overly complex language, avoid jargon, especially if you're talking to non-native English speakers or maybe different departments who don't share your technical background. The goal here is efficient communication, right? Not showing off how many big words you know. And this also means cutting out confusing idioms. Phrases like, let's hit the ground running or circle back. They might seem normal to native speakers, but they just add unnecessary confusion for global teams. Stick to direct, clear sentences. That's the priority.
I see. Yeah, directness wins. What about fighting that sense of isolation that can creep in with remote work? We need ways to keep that human connection going, the stuff that used to happen naturally by the coffee machine.
Yes, remote work can feel really isolating, and that impacts everything. Productivity, loyalty, you name it. The sources suggest fighting this tactically, like start meetings with just a brief personal check-in, maybe 60 seconds, how was the weekend, or talk about a current event, just something human. And, crucially, use video whenever you possibly can. I know some people don't love being on camera, but it's a strategic way to build that team feeling, that cohesion that gets lost when you're just looking at static avatars or names on a screen. The psychological benefit usually outweighs the slight discomfort.
That's a good point. And the final strategy you mentioned is crucial for like organizational memory and setting expectations,
Mhm.
documentation and alignment. This is where the work actually gets solidified, isn't it?
Absolutely. This means using shared digital spaces. Strategically, think Google Drive, Dropbox, SharePoint, so everyone has instant access to the latest documents, project updates, everything in one place. But here's the really critical part. After every significant interaction, not just formal meetings, consistently summarize the key points and action items in follow-up emails. Proactively closing that loop, it keeps everyone aware, it sets clear, tangible expectations for what happens next, and it massively cuts down the risk of miscommunication. It's amazing, really, how much remote success boils down to good documentation. Just confirming those action items in writing seems to be one of the highest impact things you can do.
That's a really practical takeaway. Simple but powerful. Okay, so we've covered the sort of operational language for the day to day. But what about when the pressure really cranks up? Let's pivot now to what might be the ultimate high stakes language test, the professional interview. The sources really dig into detailed scenarios here, which is great because it lets us pull out the universal traits of people who succeed in interviews, moving beyond just what they say to how they strategically position themselves.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how the successful candidates, it doesn't matter what level they are, from a shop floor assistant to a financial analyst, they all tailor their language to the specific job, sure, but they stick to the same core principles: clarity, focus, and strategic alignment with the company. They really control the narrative. Hashtag tag 2.1 case studies in successful interviewing.
Okay, let's start with an entry level example. Scenario one: John Roberts applying for a store assistant job at a pretty high end clothing boutique. He had to clearly state his relevant experience, making sure it fit that luxury retail vibe.
Right. So John's key experience wasn't just about ringing up sales. He highlighted, yes, working as a sales associate, helping customers, handling the register, standard stuff. But crucially, he added those higher value behind the scenes tasks. I also helped with inventory management, making sure stock levels were spot on, and I supported the visual merchandising team with window displays. See, that shows he understands the whole retail operation, not just the customer-facing bit. It signals he's proactive, engaged beyond the basics.
And then the classic retail question: how do you handle a busy day? His answer focused on staying calm under pressure, which subtly links back to maintaining that luxury customer experience, doesn't it?
Exactly. He didn't just say, oh, I work fast. He said, I stay calm and focused. And he actually outlined his process, prioritizing customers who are waiting, multitasking efficiently, maybe handling a return while helping a new shopper and making sure the store itself stays organized, even when it's chaotic. And when he talked about why he wanted that job, he mentioned the boutique's unique style and his own passion for sustainable fashion. That specific alignment showed he'd done his homework. He wasn't just looking for any job. He wanted this job. That makes a difference.
Okay, scenario two moves up the service ladder a bit. Tom Turner, interviewing for a restaurant waiter position at a busy, well regarded place. Again, clearly communicating the whole experience was key.
Yeah, Tom had 3 years' experience, and he showcased responsibility. He covered the expected things, taking orders, serving food, handling payments, but he deliberately included the supporting tasks that signal reliability. I also assisted with daily setup and the nightly closing procedures. That tells the manager he's a committed team player, someone who understands the whole restaurant operation, not just his visible role. He goes beyond.
And the problem solving question here was about managing the stress of peak hours where you need speed and precision.
Tom framed it positively. He said he thrives in a fast-paced environment. He then laid out a strategy explicitly, using organizational systems, prioritizing tasks by urgency like drinks first, then appetizers, and keeping up clear, quick communication with the kitchen and other staff. So, in his words, everything runs smoothly.
Okay.
His customer service focus wasn't just generic either. He mentioned greeting guests warmly, setting that initial positive tone, being attentive to their needs, like checking on drinks without being asked, timing the courses right, and ensuring orders were accurate. All crucial for that enjoyable dining experience they were known for.
Right. Now let's make the leap to the advanced level. Scenario 3. Daniel Davis, a financial analyst applying to a major investment firm. This requires not just technical skill, but also that really difficult ability to explain complex stuff to non-experts, like executives.
Daniel's background was solid. A master's in finance, 4 years as a junior analyst. His experience description hit the core quantitative skills. Analyzing complex financial data, preparing detailed regulatory reports, and really importantly, creating predictive financial models. This showed a strong foundation in both finance theory and its practical high-stakes application.
And when they asked him how he approaches complex financial problems, especially with big data sets, he didn't just talk theory. He demonstrated methodical thinking and named his tools. That seems important.
Hugely important. He framed himself as a strong believer in methodical problem solving, starting by breaking down big problems into smaller, manageable, validated parts. And then he explicitly mentioned his technical toolkit, advanced Excel, SQL, and Python. Naming those tools is crucial. It signals he can go way beyond simple spreadsheets, handle complex data relationships, do sophisticated modeling. It shows real quantitative depth, not just data entry skills. And he made sure to add that he stressed data accuracy using rigorous statistical methods.
But the real clincher, the aha moment that really sealed the deal for him, was when he showed impact. He connected his technical analysis directly to a major business decision involving significant money. How did he phrase that?
He shifted gears from just demonstrating skills to showing strategic influence. He described a specific project, analyzing a proposed multi-million-dollar investment. His detailed technical analysis revealed the initial revenue projections were, frankly, flawed and way too optimistic. So he presented an alternative model, showing a more moderate but actually achievable growth path. And the impact. Management listened. They used his revised analysis to go ahead with a scaled-down investment. The result was a more sustainable growth trajectory for the company, and they avoided potentially losing a lot of capital. That story proved he wasn't just a number cruncher, he was a strategic thinker, a safeguard even. Hashtag 2.2, the 5 universal keys to interview success.
It's really clear from these examples, isn't it? Regardless of the job title, these 3 candidates all used a common set of strategies. The source material boils this down to 5 universal keys that successful candidates seem to control.
That's right. The first one is relevant experience. You absolutely have to spell out how your past work directly applies to the job you're going for. Don't make the interviewer guess or connect the dots for you. Your job is to draw that line very clearly between what you've done and what they need. Like John linking inventory skills to boutique needs, or Daniel linking Python to the firm's modeling requirements.
Okay, key number 2. Clear communication. And this isn't just about speaking clearly, is it? It's about answering concisely, directly, making it easy for the interviewer to understand you quickly. Rambling, using too many filler words, that erodes your credibility fast, especially when you're under pressure.
Absolutely. Third key, positive attitude. This is that vibe you give off, the nonverbal stuff that signals you'll be a good team fit, that you're resilient. All 3 candidates maintained enthusiasm, eagerness for the role. A positive attitude suggests you can handle challenges, stress, without getting negative or giving up.
Fourth is problem-solving skills. And this means showing how you handle the specific challenges the job throws at you, often by telling a brief story, like you said. For Tom, it was juggling tasks during that dinner rush. For Daniel, it was tackling that complex data set methodically. You've got to show the process you use to solve problems, not just state the outcome.
And finally, maybe the most strategic key of all, alignment with company values. You need to show you've done your research and you're genuinely interested in this specific company's mission or values. John didn't just want any sales job. He liked the boutique's unique style. Tom mentioned the restaurant's reputation for quality. Daniel talked about the investment firm's commitment to ethical practices, that cultural fit. That's often what turns a candidate who can do the job into the one they actually want to hire. Makes them seem like a future colleague, not just an applicant.
That makes perfect sense. It's about showing you belong there. Okay, let's shift gears again. We're moving now to the real front lines of business interaction, where your language is directly linked to money changing hands, fixing problems, and making formal deals. If the interview gets you in the door, this is the language that helps you succeed once you're there.
Exactly. These next sections offer a fantastic toolkit for anyone whose job involves selling, handling tricky customer issues, or negotiating deals. It's all about using language in a controlled way to keep things positive, focused on solutions, even when the other person is challenging you or upset. Hashtag 3.1, the Sales and Customer Service Toolkit.
Let's start with engaging and advising customers. We need phrases that go beyond a simple hello to actually build some rapport and offer real value, right?
Right. You want to show genuine interest. Start with something like, is this your first time shopping with us? It opens the door. Then shift into advice based on what you perceive they need, framing it as helpful guidance, not just a sales pitch. Okay, based on what you've mentioned you need, I'd actually recommend this particular model. Or a polite way to suggest an alternative. May I suggest something that could suit your needs a bit better? Perhaps streamline your process.
And what about boosting sales through upselling or cross-selling? The language needs to feel natural, like you're genuinely enhancing their purchase, not just trying to add items to the bill.
Yeah, the trick is to anchor the suggestion to what they're already buying. Use phrases like, this product pairs really well with the one you're getting. It actually ensures maximum efficiency. Or, using social proof, a lot of customers who bought this also found this accessory really useful. Offering extra services can work well too, if it's relevant.
Yeah.
Would you perhaps be interested in an extended warranty? It just offers that extra peace of mind against unforeseen issues down the road.
No, the really tough part. Handling price negotiations and objections. You need to stay professional and strategic when someone pushes back on cost or has concerns about the product.
Okay, for price, always lead with empathy. Validate their concern first. I understand your budget concerns, and I appreciate you being open about them. Let's see what we might be able to work out. If you do have wiggle room, frame it as a specific, maybe limited offer. Given the size of your order, I might just be able to offer you a 5% discount on this initial shipment. For objections about the product itself, immediately pivot back to the value. I understand you're concerned about the upfront cost. Absolutely. Let me just quickly explain why the long-term durability and reliability of this model often makes it worth that initial investment. Or lean on guarantees if you have them. And of course, we have a comprehensive satisfaction guarantee if for any reason you're not happy with your purchase.
The sources also gave specific language for managing really tricky service situations and refunds. This sounds like it requires a lot of empathy to diffuse conflict, especially when things have gone wrong.
Oh, this is critical. When you're dealing with someone who's clearly frustrated, you have to immediately show you're on their side. Acknowledge their feelings. I can see you're upset, and I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience this has caused. Let's work together right now to find a swift solution. Or simply, I'm really here to help. What can I do right now to resolve this for you? When it comes to refunds, the tone needs to be apologetic, but also cooperative and efficient. Now, you asked earlier about admitting fault by saying, I'm sorry. The sources are clear on this. Saying, I'm sorry this didn't meet your expectations is apologizing for the customer's experience and the feeling it caused, not necessarily a legal admission of liability. It's a de-escalation technique. So use language like, I'm really sorry this didn't meet your expectations. Let's get that refund processed for you immediately. Keep it focused on the solution.
That's a subtle but important distinction. And connecting this to specialized service roles like call centers, there's specific vocabulary there focused on efficiency and reassurance, right? Especially challenging when you're not face-to-face with the problem.
Exactly. Call center language needs to be heavy on validation and projecting urgency. Use empathy like, I can definitely understand how frustrating this must be for you, especially after you've been waiting. Then quickly pivot to action. Okay, I'm going to escalate this issue immediately with our specialist technical team to ensure we get a resolution within the next hour. or offer immediate self-help if appropriate. In the meantime, let me quickly provide you with some troubleshooting steps that often resolve this particular issue. The focus is always on rapid resolution and showing you value the customer's time. Hashtag tag tag 3.2 Advanced Business Negotiation.
Okay, moving to perhaps the highest stakes scenario, negotiations. The language here has to be incredibly precise, doesn't it? Let's look at how to open strong, presenting your position professionally but assertively.
The opening really does set the tone for everything that follows. You need to clearly state your intentions to establish that professional framework. Okay, I'd like to start by outlining our key objectives for this negotiation, just to ensure we're both aligned on the scope from the outset. Then clearly state your main priority, often framing it as a mutual win. Look, our main priority here is securing a long-term partnership that benefits both our companies through sustainable growth and shared opportunities. See how that frames it collaboratively, not as a battle.
Yeah, shifting from win-loss to win-win. Okay, so what about making and responding to offers during that core bargaining phase? This requires persuasive language, but also flexibility. Sounds like psychology comes into play here.
Oh, absolutely. When you make an offer, strategic framing is key. The sources highlight anchoring the offer to a condition. Don't just throw out a number. Say something like, okay, in light of your proposal to increase your order volume by 20% next quarter, we'd be willing to offer a 5% discount on those bulk orders. The discount is tied to their concession. It feels earned, not just given away. When you're responding to an offer they've made, always acknowledge its value before you pivot. Right, your proposal for X is certainly intriguing and it clearly offers potential savings for us. However, we'd also need to explore options for perhaps faster delivery timelines and better inventory management integration. You acknowledge their point, but keep the conversation moving towards your needs too. Constructive dialogue.
And how do you handle objections in a negotiation without just shutting down the conversation? We need phrases that push things forward, maybe turning a roadblock into a chance for compromise.
You tackle the concern head on, but immediately offer a counter solution. Show you're focused on finding a way through. If they raise concerns about the timeline, you could say, I understand your concerns about the implementation timeline, absolutely. However, we can potentially expedite the process by allocating additional resources, provided, of course, we can agree on the terms for that initial setup phase. Ginch. If they challenge the value proposition itself, you have to reaffirm it, maybe using data or focusing on the long-term picture. While I certainly see your point regarding the upfront investment, I do believe the current terms, particularly when you factor in the projected ROI over 5 years, already offer significant market value and competitive protection.
Okay, and finally, closing the deal. This is about projecting confidence, certainty, and setting the stage for what happens next, moving from talk to a formal agreement.
Use definitive, finalizing language. You want to eliminate any lingering doubt. Okay, I think we've reached a solid, mutually beneficial agreement here. Shall we confirm the key terms one last time and then move forward with preparing the contract? Or, if documentation is the immediate next step, excellent. If there are no further points needing clarification at this stage, we can proceed with drafting the final agreement based on our discussion today. And project confidence in the outcome. I'm really confident this agreement is going to be transformative and highly beneficial for both our organizations moving forward. Seal it with positivity.
All right, this feels like the section where we apply the ultimate filter. We're taking basic, maybe casual, sometimes even accidentally blunt or accusatory language and consciously transforming it into sophisticated, constructive business communication. It's like the sound like a pro matrix. We've talked about controlling the meeting structure, controlling the interview narrative. Now it's about controlling the tone and the perception of our everyday interactions.
Yes, exactly. This deliberate shift in how you communicate is just crucial. It's the difference, really, between sounding like just another person on the team and sounding like a leader, someone with influence. And professionalism isn't just about using fancy words, is it? It's about embedding courtesy, collaboration, and a sense of control into the very structure of your sentences. Hashtag 4.1 to transforming basic phrases that sound like a pro matrix.
Let's start with shifting from being abrupt to being polite. Just adding that layer of courtesy seems like it changes the whole psychological feel of a request or how you handle a deadline issue.
Oh, it makes a huge difference. Consider this. Instead of the blunt, can you do this? You use, could you please handle this task when you have a moment? It immediately signals respect for their time, adds formality. When talking about deadlines, the shift shows commitment. Don't say, I'll get to it later. That sounds dismissive. You need to convey work ethic. Okay, I'll prioritize this and aim to complete it as soon as possible. And maybe the most common one. Instead of saying, I need more time, which can sound like you planned poorly or failed, reframe it. Say, actually, I require a bit of additional time to ensure I can complete this thoroughly. See? It shifts the focus from your deficit to your commitment to quality. Much better.
That's a great reframe. Okay, next, that crucial shift from confrontational to constructive. This is especially important when you disagree or spot an error. Accusatory language just kills collaboration, doesn't it?
Instantly. You have to avoid language that points fingers. Never say that's wrong. It's dismissive, shuts down the conversation. Instead, use collaborative, solution-focused language. There seems to be a slight discrepancy in this calculation. Could we maybe review the source data together just to pinpoint it? It invites teamwork. Similarly, replace a blunt, I don't agree, with something more open and diplomatic. Okay, I actually have a slightly different perspective on this matter, and I'd like to share my analysis if that's all right. It allows for respectful dialogue, not immediate conflict.
And that really common accusatory phrase, why did you do that? That needs a serious professional upgrade. It just puts people straight on the defensive.
Definitely. Change that to something like, could you perhaps walk me through your reasoning behind taking that particular action?
It seeks to understand their thinking, their context, their method, not just accuse them of incompetence. It maintains respect and encourages useful feedback, not defensiveness. Makes sense. And finally, shifting from sounding dismissive to sounding helpful, keeping that cooperative vibe going, even when you have to say no or set boundaries.
Right. You never want to leave someone feeling brushed off or unimportant. So instead of a flat, sorry, I can't help you with that, offer a constructive alternative.
Yeah.
That's actually handled by our technical support team. Let me get you their direct contact information so they can assist you right away. And if someone's interrupting you and you're trying to focus, don't snap. Stop bothering me. Maintain professionalism. Excuse me, I'm just in the middle of a critical deadline right now. Could we possibly address this later this afternoon? You set the boundary firmly but politely, preserving the relationship. Hashtag 4.2 Essential Business Terms and Concepts. Okay, to really solidify this professional upgrade and make sure you understand the basic plumbing of professional environments, we should quickly cover some core organizational and transactional terms. Knowing these helps you integrate faster into any corporate setting.
Good idea. Let's start with structure. We need to know the key locations, beginning with headquarters, often just called HQ.
Right, HQ is simply the main place, the premises that serve as the managerial and administrative hub of the whole organization. You also hear head office or main office. Interestingly, the sources noted that sometimes you hear military-linked terms like nerve center used in executive talk. It's meant to highlight that strategic intensity, the centralized control that happens at HQ.
Okay. Then there's public relations, or PR. That's a key function for how a company's seen, right?
Absolutely. PR is all about the planned, ongoing activities designed to influence how people behave towards the organization and to build understanding and trust between the company and its various publics, customers, investors, employees, the media. People often just say the PR department or the PR team. The key strategic point here is that good PR is proactive and long-term. It's not just reactive damage control or simple advertising.
Got it. Now, agenda. That's a word with a few different meanings, which seems important to grasp, especially the hidden one.
Yes, it's got three really critical meanings in business. First, the literal one. The list of topics for a formal meeting. Simple enough. Second, it can mean a general plan of things that need doing, like the short-term plan for a specific project or initiative. And third, this is the trickiest one, the often unspoken meaning. The underlying intentions or motives of a particular person or group. If a senior manager asks for an unscheduled chat, You need to quickly figure out the real agenda. Are they trying to get support for something? Solve a crisis quietly. Understanding that hidden agenda is key.
That's a very useful distinction. And if you have an agenda, you probably need a strategy to achieve it.
Exactly. Strategy is that high-level plan, the overall approach designed to achieve a big, long-term goal. The sources contrasted strategy, the what and why, over the long haul, with tactics, which are the specific short-term actions you take to implement the strategy. And importantly, the sources link the noun strategy to the verb to strategize. That means actively dedicating time just to figuring out that high-level plan.
Okay. Moving to physical locations again, a branch is obviously vital for big companies that are spread out.
Right. A branch is just a local office or maybe a retail outlet of a larger business. Think banks, big retailers, they have branches everywhere. And the related phrase is important too, to branch out. That means expanding your activities, often into a new area or market, maybe something a bit different from your core business.
Good one. Okay, let's cover terms related to money and rules, starting with commercial.
Commercial can be tricky because it's both an adjective and a noun. As an adjective, it means related to business or intended to make a profit like a commercial agreement or achieving commercial success. But as a noun, a commercial is just a TV or radio ad. So you need the context to know which one is meant, especially when reading contracts or marketing plans.
Right. And terms related to rules and consequences like penalty and penalized.
The penalty is simply a punishment you face for breaking a rule, a law, or maybe the terms of a contract. And penalized is the verb form being subjected to that punishment, for example. If we miss the project deadline, the contract states the client has the right to penalize us financially. It underscores why compliance and managing risk are so important.
And to make sure products or services actually meet needs, companies rely on market research.
Yes, this is the systematic process of gathering information about what customers need, what they prefer, how they behave. Good market research informs huge strategic decisions about product design, service improvements, whether to enter a new market. It moves decisions away from guesswork towards being data-driven.
Makes sense. And finally, the language of official permission. Authorize and authorization. Sounds like governance language.
It is. The verb authorize means to give official permission or formal approval for something to happen. It acts as a crucial control point in companies. The noun authorization is the permission itself. You need authorization for all sorts of things, releasing sensitive data, making large payments, giving someone access to secure systems. It just shows that formal processes need explicit, usually documented language to move forward. #outro. So we've covered quite a bit today, haven't we? We've journeyed through managing the complexities of remote meetings, nailing those critical interview moments, handling tough sales and service interactions, and even formal negotiations. And underpinning all of that was this idea of elevating your language, transforming basic words into a professional lexicon that really gives you control. The true value here, I think, isn't just knowing these specific phrases. It's about consciously weaving this kind of language into your daily communication, giving you the tools to shape how people perceive your competence in pretty much any professional situation.
That really sums up the strategic edge we've been unpacking. And confidence, as we always emphasize, it really comes from being prepared, doesn't it? Our source material strongly encourages actually practicing these phrases, maybe even recording yourself saying them. It sounds a bit odd, maybe, but it builds that muscle memory. So when you're in that live, high-pressure situation, the precise professional language flows naturally, not hesitantly.
Absolutely. So let's leave you with a final thought, something provocative maybe, to mull over this week. We've spent a fair bit of time talking about how a simple, maybe even accusatory phrase like, "this is just a bad idea," really needs to be replaced with something more constructive like, I'm a bit concerned about the potential risks here. Perhaps we could evaluate the alternatives and maybe conduct a quick preliminary risk assessment. So this raises a question for you to reflect on personally. How often right now in your daily professional life do you find yourself using maybe blunt or accusatory or just generally non-strategic language? And think about this. What immediate, tangible benefit, maybe in terms of your influence, the trust people place in you, or even your career progression? What benefit could you gain starting this week just by consciously replacing one of those basic, potentially detrimental phrases with its more professional, more collaborative counterpart? It really does all start with just one sentence. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious and definitely stay precise.